Hello, everybody, and welcome to our market update for the 28th of January, 2026. Glad to have you with us. We covered a lot of ground during the market chat this morning, so this update will be a little bit brief. Well, what can I say? It seems like everything is up. We were having this discussion during the market chat of whether we're surprised that we've got a commodities super cycle happening, but at the same time setting all-time highs on the NASDAQ, S&P, etc. If I look to see where we are on the Qs, a little bit of upward drift. After hours, we're going to look at those earnings announcements in just a moment. Uh, Here we are. We had drawn in this wedge, which we stepped out of back on the 20th of January, reclaimed the upper end of that wedge, and then we've now overcome those all-time highs. So if I draw a line across from the all-time highs, we did break above. So let's check the numbers exactly. All-time high here comes in at 637.01, all-time high here. Actually, you know what? We didn't. On the S&P we did, but on the NASDAQ we got turned away. About 40 cents from the all-time highs. So in this case, I'm not really looking for anything other than longs here. To start new positions, I want to see this a little closer to my to the ATR because that fits a little bit better with my risk profile because I don't want to be holding longs below the ATR or on a trend change on the ATR. So that is the NASDAQ. Here we are on the S&P. Previous all-time high looks like it would have come in right around there, 696.09, 696.09. We had the same high on these 2 days. Interesting. Today, we have broken above those highs there at 696.09. We got to as high as 697, pardon me, 697.84. So we had drawn that upward rising wedge, which we stepped out of, but look where we found support. I pointed this out on the Sunday video or the Tuesday, excuse me, the Wednesday video last week. We had found support there. And this re-entry here at 691 going down to 677, it's about 14 points or so. And it's within my tolerance of 2 to 3%, preferably two, no more than three, for re-entries using velocity. So once we get into an area where we're in a long-term long position, as we did here on the 13th of May, I'm only looking for longs. I'm not looking for shorts. I realize that by the time I'm looking for shorts, we could be down into this area here at 647, which from 695, 50 points or so, it's about 8%. So yes, I may miss that initial 8%, but when we do get a pullback and when we get a significant drawdown, it happens much more quickly than the stair steps up. So we've got the stair steps up, and then a lot of the times it's the elevator down. So look, if we look here, stair steps up, and from here, elevator down. So yes, I would miss the first 8% here on the drawdown unless we kind of go sideways for a bit, which is entirely possible. But I would be looking for more shorts, or I'd be looking for shorts only below my longer term trend, which below here would turn bearish. If we look at IWM, I talked a little bit about this on the Sunday video where, yes, the rates are expected to come down, but there are a lot of zombie companies which may not be able to refinance even at the current rates, which are still higher than where they were in 2020 and 2021. So I worry about that a little bit, but in terms of where we are in the stage of the short term, excuse me, the small caps, we're still in a bullish phase here. And for me, looking at any new trades, I would just simply use this as my stop loss at 258. So from 263, excuse me, to 258. This actually may present an interesting entry for me here. I want to see what happens with the bar tomorrow. Now, today we had what turned out to be really not uh, a non-consequential kind of a announcement from the Fed. So tomorrow we're back to regular business. We've had this binary event that I talked about during the market chat today, that this binary volatility event, which really didn't do a whole lot, except I think the VIX did drop. I'm going to look at that in just a minute. Uh, so here, I may consider a long position depending on the way the bar looks tomorrow. You know, I don't like these bars that close at the lower end. Here, it feels like there's a little bit more downside coming. Yes, I think there is support here at 258, but I want to confirm before I get into a long on, excuse me, on the Russell. Story of the day. I think without a doubt for me, was this strong move in gold. Now you can see it's pulled back a little bit. We actually hit a high above $5,400 an ounce. $5,400 an ounce. And I was telling the group recently that when I was getting married around 2003 or so, a friend of ours said you should buy more gold now. I think it was at 300 an ounce or something, even something more, something ridiculous in hindsight. Um, And she was saying, a family friend, she was like, you should buy more gold. And she said, I think it's going to go to 500 an ounce. And we said, oh, come on. Going from 300 to 500. Boy, yes, it took some time, but was she ever right? And I hope she actually did load up on it and bought as much as she could, because this move here, it's to me, this has been one of the best trades, not just of the year, not just of the last 2 years. This has been one of the better trades that I can remember in my experience as a trader. And this has been very, very consistent. Yes, we've had some pullbacks along the way, but I like the pullbacks along the way. So if I contract the chart a little bit, you can see, and this is what I like to see when I'm looking at longer term trends. We got to move up a little bit of sideways. We got to move up a little bit of sideways, move up a little bit of sideways. So we're now on that fifth move up. So what do I think will happen? I think we'll probably get a little bit more sideways before moving up. This is all part of the dollar debasement trade, and everyone was aware of this dollar debasement trade and how to trade it. A lot of the younger people put their money into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and that was a valid investment at the time, because if we're debasing the dollar, cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, and I want to say specifically Bitcoin, was expected to hold up, and it has been holding up, but it certainly has not gone along for the ride that the metals have. Uh, Gold, we've talked about at length. Silver, which has the industrial use aspect as well, more so than gold. This one, you can see similar kind of move, move up, sideways, move up, a little bit of sideways, and then a very significant move up. So all-time high came 2 days ago on the futures. These are the continuous futures here. And all-time high was, this is SLV. I want to look at the actual silver futures. So, and SLV and the futures are close, but it's not an exact relationship here. High here 117.70, high today 117.60. So we did not overcome today's high. I think we may be settling into a bit of a consolidation here before we go a little bit higher. On the gold side, I did want to point out, so if I look at if I look at gold futures, you can see the gain here was about 4.5%. And we were talking about this during the market chat today, that the miners have not done as well as Bullion. And this is the ETF that I own, and I really like this. It's got quality names and a little bit of spec in there as well, but mostly Agnico, Barrick, Newmont, uh, the best of the best here in this ETF. And that, for me, from a risk perspective and a diversification perspective, is just right. I want to own the best. I want to speculate on some of the smaller names, but my core holding is in the top names here. And you can see today the move here is about 3%, whereas the bullion was, or the actual gold futures were up about 4.5%. So I want to see what happens with earnings for a lot of these companies as we're getting into that part of earnings season where a lot of these miners will start to report. And that'll give us a better idea of what this price on gold futures has, what kind of impact that's had on their earnings over. So if we start at the end of the third quarter, which would take us to October 1, right around here. And roughly since then, we've had a 40% move in gold. So let's see where the miners come out on this. One of my favorite names, and I regret not picking this up a little earlier, is Sprott, and we were talking about Sprott around $100, and I think something else shiny came across my field of vision, and I never went back to it. This was the play right here at about 100. In hindsight, of course, this all looks like anywhere would be great, but this violent move that we've had, and we've talked about this briefly during the market chat today. Are we expecting a significant pullback? I'm expecting more of a sideways pattern before another move up. As long as we keep going the way we're going with the economy and with the way the dollar is going, I do like more upside for gold and silver here. Copper, I don't think was doing anything of great significance. 592 here on the continuous futures. What else did we want to look at? So Bitcoin, as I mentioned, it's holding steady. It's not that every Bitcoin holder is now getting into gold and silver and trying to follow that trend. I think there is some rotation that's happening, but I think Bitcoin holders are continuing to hold and continuing to support the price here. We take a look at strategy, which of course is much more volatile than Bitcoin itself. And of course, it's got valuation issues that people want to compare to the price of Bitcoin. So this one, it just looks like there's a little bit more downside here. Above 186, I might get interested in taking the other side of the trade. But at this point, I'm looking at more downside. Big movers after hours today. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about the VIX. So we were talking about VIX here during the market chat, and it's a 5-minute chart here. You can see that's 4 o'clock. Where's 2 o'clock? 240, 230. There's 2 o'clock here. So we close that 2 o'clock bar at 1665. And by 3 o'clock, we're down to about 1618. And we were looking at those $16 puts for a couple of weeks from now, trading at about 25 cents or so. I think there's still, maybe it's a little higher right now. That was until this kind of move happened going into the close. We closed near 1690. Then after hours, we close a little bit lower at 1640. So I suspect this was likely because one of the first earnings, which I think was Microsoft, maybe spooked the market a little bit, and then Meta and Tesla come out, and I think their earnings, at least the early returns or the early response to those earnings was good. Here's the extended hours. Let me see if I can fix that up for you here. Microsoft down 5% after hours. It's a pretty big move for it. Oh, that's a 5-minute chart. There we go. There's the after hours at 457. Datadog, not really doing a whole lot. Going the other way, Tesla up about 4% or so, but still a ways away um, from my level at which I would consider a long. Warby Parker, I've been following this casually. This was a kind of in and out trade here. Not really a whole lot happening on it. Reddit, I think this was earnings as well. No, their earnings are coming up. And Reddit, of course, a favorite of the Reddit crowd. So I expect this to kind of hold price levels here. There's the bottom of the ribbon where we did find a little bit of support. Western Digital, big move today. Continued buying pressure after hours as well. Nothing wrong with that. Micron, when we started looking at Micron around here on VectorVest, the price of Micron, I just want to show the group here. So on Micron, if I look at historical data, you can see that when this flipped over to a buy on this part here, stock was at 125. Expected value or value as per the VectorVest calculations was 215. So it was almost it was about 50% of where the expected value was. And you can see VectorVest has continually expanded or increased its expected value, and it is still undervalued. This is as of yesterday. The update for today hasn't come out just yet. You can see here at 410 or whatever it is now, 425 or so, that the expected value is still considerably higher. So in this case here, it's gone up so much so quickly that I would expect some kind of sideways pattern similar to what we had there before another leg higher. A hard stop for me would be this ATR level here, which is currently from 446 down to 391. It's about 56 points, which is more than 10%. So a little too risky for me to get into this trade right now. Oh, just in time. We got the update on VectorVest here. Okay. Was there anything else that we needed to cover today? Yesterday I closed out UPS because earnings were, I don't know, I closed it out on Monday because earnings were yesterday in the morning. And at first, when we got up to this level at 112, of course, I was kicking myself, but following the rules for me is a little bit more important than the short-term gyrations. And of course, this turned around completely. We had left Monday at about 107 approximately, and currently down to 103.70. So in hindsight, the idea to get out of the trade prior to earnings release was good. Carvana, this was on the report by Gotham City about their circular accounting. And I'll post something in the Teams group about that. I've mentioned this over and over again, and we've talked about this with Luis, that there are a lot of transactions that happen between related companies here that I think some of the short sellers and some of the accounting specialists are picking up on. And this was just such a high momentum stock that despite all of that, it just kept going up and up. And today was a significant down day. So we had closed yesterday at 477 and today got as low as 374. So 100-point drop, so about 20% or so, and we end the day at 14, about 14% down. So keep an eye on Carvana. And I think that was about it. We're back with our next market chat on Friday. That is the 30th of January. We'll look at monthly charts on that day. If I forget, please remind me. In the meantime, we wish you profitable trading, the very best of health. We'll see you then.